moving along now to some crazy news. And this isn't exactly crazy news here. It was just funny. I couldn't resist it. And now, hold on a second. Let me clear this up. If Keith Ellison was telling a true story here, then it wouldn't be quite as funny. I'm sure he thinks he's telling a true story. But what happened, if you go, I think it was the next night on O'Reilly, they had a guest on. And they checked into Mr. Ellison's story. And it turns out that this guy he's talking about, they Googled and could only find one story questioning if this guy was a terrorist. This is at the House hearings on the Muslim relations or whatever they're calling it. You know, if you're on the left, it's the Muslim witch hunt. If you're on the right, it's a terrorist thing. Which if you're on the left is of course fear-mongering because there are no Muslim terrorists out there. Current terrorists, yes. But not Muslim ones. There's guys like Timothy McVeigh, and there's guys like the KKK. We should be investigating those guys, because that's current and up to date. But the guy on the airplane over Detroit on Christmas Day with bomb, that's not current. Times Square, that's not current. Crazy guy that we're going to get into, by the way, here in a second. Down in Texas, Texas A&M University, that happened earlier this year. That's not current. Timothy McVeigh's current. KKK's current. Here's Keith Ellison making a fool of himself. And by the way, look out, Boehner. There's a new speaker at a house in town. Look at Ellison. I think he wants the job.
Mohammed Salman Hamdani was a fellow American who gave his life for other Americans. His life should not be identified as just a member of an ethnic group or just a member of a religion, but as an American who gave everything for his fellow Americans.
There you have it. Tell me he's not. If they were on the left, the people on the left, what have they been doing to Boehner about the crime? But Keith Ellison will be here. Look how touched he is. Look how badly these hearings are affecting Muslim people. These hearings aren't affecting Muslim people badly. If you have any common sense, Bill O'Reilly's been making the point about the mafia. When the FBI went after the mafia, we didn't hear all these people crying for Italian people, all those poor Italian people. Even Joey Bag of Donuts. He was like, hey, what are you doing over here? You know, I'm just trying to do my thing. That's not what happened. We're going to sit here and cry because they're going after Muslims. They're not going after Muslims. They're trying to figure out what is going on with Muslims being radicalized here in the country. Notice the problem isn't them being Muslims. The problem is Muslims being radicalized. To the Muslims, I would say, grow some skin, toughen up. They had, somebody, and I got an email on this thing. It's been going around, so people are sending to each other about a Muslim day of prayer in Washington, D.C. That's from 2009. That's old news. But if you read the press, because what I did was I had forgotten about it. So I went to Snopes and checked it out. And if you read the press report on Snopes, it's actually really funny. Because what they're saying is, people aren't used to seeing Muslims coming to Washington, D.C. to pray. They're used to seeing them come here to be political activists. And I'm just thinking back to the Pentagon, right? September 11th, that's what I'm used to seeing them doing in Washington, D.C. That's offensive. I'm sure I just hurt somebody's feelings. Get over it. You watched it too, and if you're a Muslim American, you should have been every bit as hurt as any other American by September 11th. And if you're not, what am I supposed to say? You want to build a mosque at Ground Zero. Now I understand. Freedom of religion, separation of church and state. We can build a mosque wherever we want, right? Use your freaking common sense, people. You might be offended by this. We're offended by the mosque at Ground Zero. You might be offended by this story that Keith Ellison's talking about. Well, somebody thought he was a terrorist. You know, there's a reason for that. It's not like we were just sitting around one day and made up the story. We weren't just sitting. I grew up and watched through little cameras that were looking through airplane windows at Middle Eastern Muslim men walking back and forth with the guns. Hijackings, all of this stuff. It's been going on my whole life. September 11th was the culmination. You can have your little hissy fit. You can say you got your feelings hurt. You can be Keith Ellison and cry like a little girl in front of the Senate or the congressional hearing. Knock yourself out. I don't care. But don't ask me to shed a tear too. Yes, I'm going to make fun of him like the left makes fun of Boehner. And I make fun of Boehner from time to time for that matter because it's just funny. I don't know what Boehner's doing, trying to be the replacement for Glenn Beck, which we're going to get into later. tanking in the ratings, as I've been talking about. Who can listen to that? Could you really listen to this guy go on for months, Keith Ellison? I don't care. I'm not shedding a tear for you. They need to have the hearings to find out what's going on. Bottom line. And if you're Ellison, you should welcome the hearings because you're a Muslim. Let me get to the bottom line on this. If you are a Muslim, you should welcome these hearings. Because what if it comes out of there that only 1% of Muslims are radicalized?
Yeah.
Isn't that good?
That's good.
If you're Muslim, look at that. It's a freak sideshow group, right?
Right.
It's like the Westboro Baptist Church. It's just a group of freaks off in the corner. But most of us are doing a good thing. But he doesn't want the hearings. Why? Because he already knows the answer just like I do. It's not just me. It's not Islamophobia. It's a fact. You can see it on his face. He's as scared. He's scared of the hearings. I welcome him. Why? For the same damn reason. We both know what's coming out of him. We both know what's coming out of him. He doesn't want them because they embarrass him. I want them because they get to the truth of the issue.